CPAC 2016, and my guest right now, I'm so excited about this, is Erich Pratt from Gun Owners of America. Happy to have you with us today.
Well, thank you so much. Great to be here.
One of the questions I want to ask you is, of course, we're in all this presidential, what do you call it, tumult? You know, it's just crazy out there. And do you feel like with the remaining basically four candidates that our Second Amendment rights are going to be safe?
Well, it's very important, obviously, that it's neither Hillary or Bernie, because that will just be a continuation of the Obama legacy. Sure, we would be much better off, obviously, with any of the four on the Republican side. Gun Owners of America has endorsed Ted Cruz, but you know, whichever one we get there, we would be obviously be much better off. Certainly, we need somebody to repeal those executive orders that the president implemented back in January. He overturned 200 years of constitutional rights by requiring now people to go through background checks even for private sales. And so this type of thing has just really put a chilling effect. People don't know if they need to go through a background check or not. They've been contacting Gun Owners of America asking, what do we do? So it really has had this chilling effect, and the stakes are high, because if they do anything wrong, then retroactively the ATF can come in and hit them with 5 years in jail or a $250,000 fine. So this Obama legacy needs to be repealed. We need a president that will overturn it the first day in office.
How much does, you mentioned Ted Cruz, and one of the concerns I hear consistently about Ted Cruz is that he's not been as effective as we had hoped maybe in the Senate, partly because he stood very strong constitutionally. We get that. But what if the next president encounters that same sort of lethargic Congress that we've had to deal with that won't seem to stand for really anything on both sides of the aisle, and then have you thoroughly vetted the candidates to make sure that they're going to have the type of efficacy that we're going to need, especially with the kind of revolt there will be against any Republican president?
Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Obviously, with any Republican, the Democrats know how to fight.
Yes, they do.
And they never compromise their principles. And quite frankly, we think we need to fight fire with fire. And we need somebody who is going to fight back and who is not going to compromise. And the thing that we like about Ted Cruz, I mean, he's always been there on the gun issue. I mean, some of the others have not been there on the gun issue. But with Ted Cruz, he was the one that led 30 other state attorney generals before the Heller case. That was very important. Certainly he was the one, and I would chalk this up to effectiveness. In 2013, he was the one that led the way, helped lead the opposition to the president's gun control plan. So the very reason we didn't get hit with all that gun control was because Ted Cruz was there on the floor helping to filibuster and block that. So we think he's been very solid. He's been a leader already, and so.
Have you met with all the presidential candidates, and do you feel assured that they would be good?
Well, what we do is we survey all the presidential candidates, and actually Ted Cruz was the only one that responded to that. But we also look into their past records. I mean, by the time people get up to the presidential level, there's already a lot of a record. So we were able to look at that as well, and that was the other thing. I mean, there are other good candidates, but out of them all, we felt that Ted Cruz nudged everybody else.
I've been a Gun Owners fan for a long, long time, because I remember my husband was a state senator, and I remember that we could count on you to stand. What sets you apart in your mind from other gun groups?
Well, certainly, you know, and I don't want to put down other gun groups. They do a lot of good things, sponsoring shooting sports or building firearms museums. The thing that we specialize in is putting heat on legislators to protect our gun rights. And you know, I mentioned the 2013 battle. That was one of the things that really set Gun Owners of America apart, because there were other gun groups that were trying to compromise and work out a deal so that we wouldn't have legislation that was quite not as bad. But Gun Owners of America, the New York Times said that it was actually GOA that exposed that compromise. And then when we started putting out the grassroots alerts and getting them to put the heat on their senators, the New York Times said it was because of that Republican senators were frozen and kept from actually going forward with the compromise. NPR said that every time we would put out an alert, it would light up the lines in Congress. And that's the thing that's so wonderful about our members, is that they're very active. and we represent over 1.5 million gun owners through various different means and membership. But when we activate them, they take that seriously and respond to the call. And it's, the late Senator Everett Dirksen used to say, when I feel the heat, I see the light. And that's the thing that our members do really well at putting the heat on legislators and keeping them from going over and making those compromises that are going to sacrifice our rights. And I would say this, sometimes just saying no is an effective strategy, and we did that in 2013 without compromising, and we were able to kill every word of gun control that the president wanted to impose.
Now, we're here at CPAC, but you're a very bipartisan organization, and so you work with both sides, because this is not a partisan issue at all. But so if people want to get involved and want to be members, what exactly does it take to be a member?
Well, I would encourage a few things. First of all, they can like us on Facebook, and we give out a lot of good information there. But also they can sign up for our free email alerts at gunowners.org.
Which are so informative. They should totally do that, yeah.
I appreciate that. And that's kind of our shock troops, really, in getting people to put the heat on their legislators. And then we're also a membership organization, so for $20 a year, people can go to our website at gunowners.org and sign up and become a member, and they get the full membership privileges. They'll get a newsletter every month. But it's especially that email alert list that has really been effective in putting immediate heat on legislators. I'll give you another example of that just with the recent Supreme Court appointment, that vacancy that opened up. Sadly, with Antonin Scalia passing, the president is in a position to change history with this new pick. Sadly, many key Republicans were saying, yeah, we're going to let the process go through. That is very dangerous. That's like letting a snake out of the bag, because then Harry Reid can use all the parliamentary tricks possible to try to get that nomination through. We started putting out our email alerts, getting the heat on these senators. Every single one that had said, yeah, that's a good idea to get the process going, has done a 180 now, and they're saying, no, we're not even going to hold hearings on this. That again is just, demonstrates the power of the grassroots in putting that immediate heat. So again, gunowners.org, people can sign up there, free email alerts.
That's very exciting. What do you predict coming into the next year? What do you predict in terms of just legislation? Very quickly, we're almost out of time, but I just want to make sure people have a vision for what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, it'll all obviously depend on who gets elected president, whether we're just stopping bad legislation, or if it's a Cruz or somebody else that respects Second Amendment rights. We want to get concealed carry reciprocity. There is no reason that we shouldn't be able to do that. But even if it's somebody like a Hillary, there's still ways of repealing legislation. We even did that with Barack Obama, repealing the ban in national parks.
Very exciting stuff. Thank you so much for being with us and for all the good work you do. Erich Pratt from Gun Owners of America. Check him out.